guys, it's Maisie and I'm from Show Low Public Library. We're back in the Show Low TV studio and we are bringing you another adult DIY. So you might be watching this right now on Facebook Live. If you're watching with us now, go ahead and say hi down in the comments. We'd love to see who's watching. You might also later be watching this on the library Facebook page, which is Show Low Public Library. You might be watching on the Show Low TV YouTube channel, or you might be watching on Sparklight on your TV, which is channel 56 or 1056 in HD. So this month we have a winter kind of themed craft for you. We're going to be making these cute little snowmen. I'll hold them up so you can see them. I turned mine into ornaments. So there's this guy that has his little hat and his gloves. And then we've got one that is kind of sassy. He's got a foil hat, which was really fun, the paper that I found at the library. Then we've got one that he's got this cute little top hat and his little gloves. And then we have one that has little ear muffs. I guess she could be a girl. It's pink. So some of these are snow women, not just snowmen. And then we've got one that's got a little Christmas tree. And then his little hat with his gloves that are sticking up. So I made all of this on the Cricut machine, which is right here next to me. The library received a grant a couple of years ago to get a maker space, which if you're kind of up in the trendy stuff, maker spaces are something that public libraries have been having over the last couple of years. And it's equipment and machines like the Cricut and sewing machines and 3D printers that are in the library that people can come in and use. So we have sort of like a mini maker space, I guess. It's in the reading room and at the library. So if you're going into the library and you go to the left, on the far back corner is the reading room, and there's a big sign that says reading room. That's where the stuff's located right now. So the Cricut machine's in there. We have an embroidery machine. We have a quilting and sewing machine. We have like crocheting and jewelry and stuff that you guys can use. So you can come into the library and use all of those things, including the Cricut machine, to make something like this if you wanted to. Normally when you come into the library to use the stuff, we ask that you have your own material. So like if you were going to cut a vinyl sign for this, you would have your own Cricut vinyl. Or if you were going to use the embroidery machine to make like t-shirts or something, you bring your own little shirts to put into the machine. But I'm going to show you guys how we use this today to make the snowman project. So I've got the Cricut machine hooked up to a laptop. The library has a subscription to something called the Cricut Design Space. So normally when you go to the Cricut website and you're looking for projects, some of them have a little green logo that is like a, kind of looks like a lock sort of thing. That means that it's locked with access only to the Cricut Design Space. So the library has a subscription. So if you decide you want to come in and use this, if you find something on there that has the little symbol on it, just write it down, or you can let us know and then we'll be able to help you find it when you come in to use the machine. So we have the Cricut machine and the laptop or the tablet that you're going to use. And what you'll do is my Cricut machine's on. I also need to have my little cutting mat, which the library has these for you to use. I'm going to peel the plastic off. This might be kind of loud. So this is the mat that holds your paper to it. It's slightly sticky. So I'm going to prep that up first while we look for our project. So I can reach over here. Normally when you're cutting on the Cricut, you change the little wheel that's over here on the side to different things. So like it says poster board, bonded fabric, cardstock, light cardstock, iron-on, vinyl, paper, or custom, which is like if you had a different type of material you wanted to use. So for our project, I've got it set to cardstock because that's what I've got that I'm going to show you guys how to use on here. I picked two different colors, but it doesn't really matter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick it down on my mat, and the mat has little grid lines on it. So you want to make sure that you put it on there straight so that it doesn't cut off of the mat when you're cutting on the machine. So you're going to put it on there straight as you can get it, and you kind of press it down. So now I'm going to go to my computer and I'm going to look for the thing on the Cricut Design Space. When you first go in, it asks you what your type of machine is. So we have a Cricut Explore Air 2, so that's what I selected. But there's 2 or 3 different types of machines, so you'd set it to your machine. The projects that I have saved in our Cricut account show up on the top. So like right here is the Snowman project that I did, but I'm going to show you guys if you didn't do that, what you would kind of do. So you can scroll down when you're looking and it shows you like these are ones that are popular right now and these are ones for holiday. So there's like t-shirts, there's all kinds of stuff that you can pick from. So now I'm going to search for Snowman, and it should come up under there. So see, a bunch of different stuff came up, and so what I did is I just kind of looked until I found one that I liked. So the one that I did was this. It's called Winter Frolic Snowman Scene. So if you click on that, it's going to open up and it's going to show you pictures of what it looks like. So there they are. That's what they originally looked like. So you can kind of find the project you like and then tailor it to what you want to do based on what it looks like. So what you would do is you'd find the one you'd want. I did customize, so then it comes up on the screen and it shows you what your snowmen are going to look like. So this is them individually. So if you click on one over here on the right, it brings it up, and these are what's called the layers of your project. So it wants to have basically two bodies that are different colors. Then it wants the white part you can see of the snowman. So this part here, that's like his snowman color over top of those two. Then it's his gloves, or that might be his little face things. His nose, his hat, and then this one here is the gloves and his little hat topper thing. So when I picked this project, I thought they were cute, but there was way too many pieces that were going on. So what I did is I went in and I selected like this bottom layer. I didn't want two bottom layers. So I selected it and then I clicked delete, and it gets rid of it. Obviously you didn't see a change on the screen because he's got two bottom layers. So then what I did is I wanted him to have arms still, so I got rid of the top layer that makes him white like the snowman, because depending on your paper, it's really not gonna matter what color it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete that one. So now he's faceless snowman. Oh my God. So I want him to have his nose. I didn't really think the little cheek things were necessary. I thought that was a waste of paper, so I got rid of those. So like this snowman is ready to go. He's got his bottom layer, which has his arms attached. Then he's got his nose, which is on there, his little top hat, and then this is his accessories, which is the bow tie and the two mittens and then the little hat band. So because I wanted to change it, I went ahead and did that for all of the projects. So I'm going to close this one and I'm going to open up the one that I completely finished so you guys can see what it looks like. So this is the one that I actually cut once I had edited everything out. And it's going to open up. So they looked like just their bases and then their accessories, which is what I wanted. So I'm going to do customize. Let's do replace. There we go. Okay. So this is my snowman. So once I got all them ready looking like I wanted them to look, so you're going to select the one you want, and this little eye icon means that you can actually see it on the screen. So I'm going to get rid of everything else that I don't want to cut. So I'm going to hide it all on here. And if you click just where it says snowman, that's like the next one. You can just hide their whole entire body at one time so that you only see what you actually want to cut. So we'll do that to make it a little simpler for you guys to see. So I hid everything. So the only thing showing on the screen now is his little accessory pack. So once you're ready to cut, you're going to go up here to where it says make it, and you're going to click that. And it's going to load. So it normally is set because the mat is 12 by 12. On here it shows the mat and it looks like it's 12 by 12. If you have 12 by 12 paper, you can use that. Most of the cuts that I did were just on regular paper. So you can go in and change the size right here where it says material size, and you'll click it. So mine's just a regular size piece of paper, so it's going to be 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to click that. And then if you want to do multiples of the same thing, you're going to go up here to where it says project copies, and you're going to change it. So let's, just for the sake of this, let's do like 4 or 5. So you're going to change it to 5 and you click apply. And of course it changed the size of the paper again, so we got to make sure we change it back. There we go. Okay, so this is showing me that only 4 are going to fit on this piece of paper. Now, because there's a bunch of empty spaces, there is a way that you can come in here and like move them around. Like if I wanted to like turn this, it's not going to fit on the top because it's telling me it's sticking up. That's what the red means. That little red box means it's outside the area that's cuttable. So I'm going to leave it. But in theory, if you were trying to save paper when you're doing this, you can kind of move them around and drag them around to rearrange them. So I'm not going to worry about the second mat down there because only 4 will fit on here. So we've got our size paper, the thing we want to cut, how many we want, and we're looking at it on here. It looks okay on the screen, so we're going to click continue and it's going to get ready to cut it. So it's talking to the machine so that it knows what's happening. So I have my dial already set to cardstock, but if you wanted something else, you'd change it. So on here it says base material is set to cardstock. Then it wants you to load the tools. So when you come to the library, the cutting blade is always in there. It's this little one that says B, and on the screen it says B2. So this is clamp A, this is clamp B. So the cutting one is always in there all the time, normally when you come in. If you wanted to do like writing or you wanted to score, you'd put a different tool in the A side slot. But when you're just cutting, you just have the B side slot. So it's just confirming on my screen that I only want the cutting blade. And if you want to add something in, you'd click edit tools and then there's like a list. But because I only want the cutter, I'm just going to leave it. So then it wants me to load the mat and press the button. So I'm going to take the mat, which always faces towards the machine with the top up, which is where this little hole is. So I'm going to slide it in, and there's like little grooves on the machine that show you where to put it, and you have to put it as far up against this little bar as you can so that it'll suck it in. So we'll hit the button and it took it in. You want to make sure it goes up under the roller. So then on my screen, it's telling me press go, and the button should be flashing. So this little button over here, the Cricut button, is flashing. That means it's ready. So I'm going to click it and it's going to start cutting. So then on the screen, it says it's cutting and it's going to cut. And the more stuff you're cutting, of course, the longer it's going to take. So since this is just 4 little pieces that are duplicated 4 times, it's going to be fast. And it starts coming out the back. The mat sort of slides out the back. So if you're using this at the library, you have one at home, you want to make sure that there's enough space so the mat can go back and forth. Okay, so it's going to spit it out and it wants me to unload it. The button's flashing, so I'm going to click that and it's going to come out. And this one's ready. So normally, because I selected 5, it wants me to load another mat. So you would take this off or have your other mat, have your next piece of paper down, and you just keep going through as you're going. But because I only have this one, I'm going to stop cutting. So I'm going to click the cancel button. And it says, are you sure you want to cancel? And I'm going to say yes. And it's going to go back to the main screen we were just on. So we're done with the cutting part. So once you've cut out your pieces on your mat, we have this little toolbox at the library that has all of our stuff in it. So there's different little scrapers you use. This is the one I like to use. This one's kind of dirty. I should have cleaned it off before I came on camera, but that's fine. So it's this is like what you use to get down under here and lift it up. But we also have like these little things that you can kind of use to go across if you wanted to. So there's different little tools in here that you use to get it off the mat. So this is always in the box at the library. And I think when you buy the Cricut, it probably comes with some of these. So you're going to put the tool down under the paper and you're just going to gently lift it up. And I'm going to pull it away from the little pieces. So this is like, I could use the other side of this if I wanted to. So then what I'm going to do is you're just going to pop these off of here, and then you'll have your little pieces. So you'll just very carefully kind of put it underneath. You got to kind of press it, and then you'll just peel it off so that it's not stuck to the mat anymore. And you'll peel it off just like that. So you'll do that all the way down so that you have all your little pieces. So then, once you have all your pieces cut out, which I have some here, I cheated and I pre-cut some, so you guys didn't have to watch me cut 500 little arms. What you're gonna do is you're gonna be ready to assemble your snowman. So, this is my bag with all my snowmen. I think I'm gonna pick this one that has a little earmuffs because I'll be able to find the pieces in this bag because I know what they actually look like. I should have pre-separated them. So this is my body that I cut out, and this looks like book page paper because I copied book page paper from the book page onto cardstock. You cannot use certain types of paper on the Cricut because that mat is really sticky. The very first time I tried to cut book page paper, it cut. It was so beautiful. I was so happy, and then I went to peel it off and it just was like all the way down because it's so paper thin. So you have to really use things that are thicker. You cannot really use regular paper. It says paper on the cutter, but because the mat is so sticky, it's so hard to get actual paper on there. So I'm gonna look in here and find my little accessories. So there's all the pieces I need, and we're gonna need string for later. So I'm gonna put the extra pieces back in the bag so that I don't lose any of them for later. And I'll show you how we put them together. So if you picked up your kit from the library, you just had your snowman pieces and your string. But you'll also, for this project, when I did mine, I laminated them because I thought that it would help them hold up a little bit better since they're just paper. If you don't have a laminator at home, you don't have to laminate them. You could also do like poor man's laminate with tape, or some of that, what is that stuff, that like shelf stick clear stuff? You could potentially use that too if you wanted to. So I'm gonna make sure I don't get any of these little pieces. Okay, so we're ready to assemble our snowman. So I've got all my pieces. So snowman body, then his little earmuff things, and he's got a scarf, and then his little earmuff cover, his nose, and the little gloves. When I did mine initially, I just used Scotch, that's a word. Elmer's, I almost said Scotch glue. You guys, that's not a thing. Elmer's glue is what I used, but for the purposes of being on camera to be a little bit quicker, I'm gonna use something called glue dots. So these are little adhesive things that you can buy at the store. And this is a new pack, so I'm gonna get it ready here by slipping that out the bottom. That way it's a little bit quicker. And I'm also going to turn on my laminator over here so that I can show you guys how I laminate it, so it'll get hot while we're doing this part. So once you have all your pieces, you're just going to start assembling your snowman. Maybe there's my glue dot. So this little strip has the glue dots on it. These are really super cheap. You can buy them just at Walmart or on Amazon. And I'm just going to use them to glue everything down. So his gloves obviously have to go a certain way. So like this one has to go on that hand, and this one has to go on that hand because his thumb. So I'm just going to take his glove and I'm going to stick it down on this glue dot, and then I'm going to kind of peel it up, maybe, so that the glue dot is stuck to it, and then I'm just going to stick it down onto where his hand goes, like this. And I'm going to do the same thing with all the other pieces. Maybe my glue dots are not cooperating at all. There we go. So I'm going to do the same thing, get the glue dot, stick it down. So yeah, you can glue these together however you want. So then I'm going to take his little earmuff thing and I'm going to put it on the earmuff before I put it on the body, because that'll be easier. Stick it off like this. I'm just going to stick it on there. Maybe. There we go. So then we'll put his little earmuff thing on. Oh my gosh, my glue dots are not cooperating very well, are they? Okay, so then I'll stick his earmuff thing on over here. And then if I stick one on the other side, that should hold it on okay for the purposes of this. Maybe. My glue dots, I think, might be backwards in here because they're sticking to the box instead of sticking to what I want them to stick to. They're not cooperating very well. They're getting stuck. There we go. So I'm gonna stick it on there like that, and then stick it down. Okay, then we're gonna have his scarf, which should stick with a couple of these. Maybe I should have just done Elmer's glue, you guys. That might have been easier, because this is like not cooperating today. Normally these do not fail me. Normally these are very easy to use. So I think that this box is just a little funky. Okay, so we got his scarf. I'm gonna put the scarf on like that. so it'll stay down. And then I'm going to put the nose on, and then you're going to have to draw your own faces on these, because I eliminated, you saw from doing the Cricut part of this, that they had all those little teeny tiny pieces, but I was like, man, that is too many pieces to cut out. So I'm going to get my markers, and I'm just going to pick a black marker for the face. I'm going to just draw the eyes on like this, little snowman eyes. And then I'm just going to do some little dots for his mouth. As you saw earlier in the video, part of the reason they had 3 or 4 different layers, because one of them was brown, but I didn't want to have to cut out that many pieces, so I'm just going to color his arms brown. So he should be ready to go. So we'll put everything away, and then I'll show you guys how we laminate. So the laminate over here comes in, when you have the little personal laminator that I have, it's just Scotch thermal laminating pouches, and I have one of these at home too that I use all the time for different things, because it's just like a personal size thing. So I'm going to take out my pouch and put him in there. So of course you'd have 5 or 6 and you'd be putting them in there. So I'm just going to take the pouch out, maybe if it doesn't stick to that. And so you have your 4 or 5 little snowmen. This is ours, so he's ready. He's got all his little pieces on there in his face. That's what he looks like. And I'm going to stick him in the laminator. I'm just going to stick him right in the middle because he's the only one. So then what you do, I'm going to close this up so that you guys can see the laminator. And I'm going to switch them over here. We're going to put this one here, and I'm going to move this one up so you guys can see it. Maybe. Yes? Okay. Is it going to stretch? Yes, it is. My cord's going to stretch. Okay, so when you turn your laminator on, it's going to heat up. You can select either 3mm or 5mm. I think these are 3. I always do the 5 just because it makes it hotter, and I feel like you only have to do it once instead of potentially when it's on the 3, sometimes it doesn't seal all the way. So I always do it on the hottest one. Then you want to stick it in, make sure he's flat in there. Then you want to stick it in with the open side of the flap going in so that it starts sealing right away. So I'm going to have to turn it around so that it faces me for a second so that I can get it in there. So you'll stick it in, and it's got like a little self feeder thing, so it'll start just sucking it in right away. And you just kind of balance it, keep an eye on it. If you decide to make this project, since they're just kind of freestanding, you could probably do anything you wanted to with them. You could put them on cards, you could just send them to people, you can make a little banner, that might be cute, since they're just freestanding. So it's going to go through the laminator very slowly, like slow motion, but it's not. And so it's going to come out the other side, and he's going to be ready to cut out. So you just wait for it to come out. And then it shouldn't be like super scorching hot. You should be able to touch it right away. If you were using like a real laminator, it would be too hot for you to touch. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off so it cools off. I'm going to move it to the side. And then I'm going to cut him out. So if you've ever used laminate before, you just have to make sure, you guys may or may not be able to see this, but there's like a little line that goes around his whole body. That's the seal. So you want to make sure when you're cutting him out that you don't want to cut like so much laminate out here that he's going to look janky, but you want to not cut right up to his arm or to his body. That way it doesn't break the seal. If for some reason you do that, you can use a towel and your iron at home, and you can like lay the towel over it and then iron him and heat him back up and seal him back, if you ever do that when you're laminating something. So I'm just going to cut him out. The library has a maker space. You can come and use the Cricut, the embroidery machine. We have jewelry making, we have crochet stuff. We just ask that you bring your own materials. So if you were going to do something like this, you would bring your own paper or your own vinyl or whatever. So I'm just going to cut around all of his extremities here so that he's cut out, and then I'll show you how we hang him up so he's ready for your tree. So And I'm cutting outside the seal so that he'll stay sealed and stay protected in there while he's hanging on the tree. I should have come up with names for the snowmen. That would have been kind of cute. I could have had names for them. I'll have to think of that next time. So he's cut out. This, of course, is just, normally you'd have more than one in there, so you'd fill up the whole thing. So this is our snowman. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna hole punch him with just a regular hole puncher. Because he's laminated, I'm gonna punch probably like here in this gap where his earmuffs are, because if I punch too far down, it's gonna hang weird. But if he wasn't laminated, obviously there would be nothing there for you to hole punch. So I'm gonna hole punch right there. And then I'm going to use my string and I'm going to string him up and he'll be ready to go. So this string's definitely too long, so I'm going to do it a little bit shorter, like this. And then I'm going to fold it in half. You guys have seen me do this several times on this show. And I'm going to stick the folded end through the hole, and then I'm going to loop it through there, and then I'm going to tie the end. So you're just going to loop it through to create your string, which is still kind of long, but that's okay. And then you're going to just tie it on the end so that he's ready to go. I'm going to cut that off. Maybe. There we go. This is just embroidery floss, by the way, the string that I'm using. You can use whatever yarn, whatever you have at home is fine. And then there you go. He's ready to go. He's ready for his trip on your tree, hanging up for Christmas. So like I said, you could have these, if you hole punched them, you could potentially string a bunch of them together, or you could, if he's not hole punched, you could stick him on something or send him to somebody. That might be kind of cute to send him in the mail. Didn't they used to do that with some kind of flat Stanley? Do you guys remember flat Stanley? I got a flat Stanley when I was a kid from somebody. It was really fun. So you're ready to go. Here's your little snowman family. And you guys are all set. So don't forget, you can come to the library, use the Cricut. You can also call and make appointments if you need help with them. If you guys have ideas for projects you want us to do during the new year, we're going to continue doing the show. Go ahead and send them to me. You can send them to us on the library Facebook page, or you can email them to me, or you can bring them to me if you come to the library to visit. We'd love to hear about what you guys want to do. If you do this project, send us a picture, share it with us. We'd love to see that too, because all your accessories are going to be different depending on the type of paper you use, so you could have some really cute little guys going on. And thank you for watching. I'm really happy that you guys could be here with me today, and we will see you next month. Bye.